Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. I'm about to go sell some soybeans.
I'm bailing simulating.
Bailing simulating.
So you know when we saw the German Chancellor playing this a couple weeks ago, it was for the Nintendo Switch. That's what they were showing off there. Farming
So
simulator.
there's a big Switch game.
Yeah, it's coming out for the Switch.
It's okay.
I mean, you know, I was
be...
saying the other day, I think I'd play it more if it was. I mean, I know it's been on handhelds before, like it was on the PS Vita or whatever the hell it's called.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that the Switch has the whole handheld aspect of it.
Right. You can just take it anywhere or whatever. Which I've used like that a couple times. Whenever we went to the beach one time, my daughter played Mario Kart the whole way there. So it's kind of okay. I brought it to the Extra Life charity thing in Orlando, and me and Seth tried to play it like just plop it down on the table and let's both play and use that as the TV. It was terrible. It's way
what,
too.
The Switch?
Yeah, it's just the TV. The screen is too tiny to like do that. Basically,
How big is the screen on the Switch?
I don't actually know. 7 inches, maybe.
So it's like the size of a Galaxy Note.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It might be more.
It doesn't seem terrible. I mean, the Wii U is much smaller, right? And I used to actually play some of the Mario levels on that, just looking at that screen, but not for prolonged periods of time.
Right. I mean, yeah. I played like all the Zelda of it. I've played was in a hotel, looking at that screen, and it was fine. Like it's fine for a handheld. I don't know that it's fine for co-op handheld, I guess is what I'm saying. Like there was a split screen Bomberman, I think is what we were playing.
Oh, wait, you guys were playing... I thought you guys both had handheld.
No, we were using my Switch to play together, and it was basically like our TV.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's probably much harder to deal with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, we just had this huge, cosmic event that everybody was so excited about.
Uh-huh.
And what was the one biggest thing that they kept talking about with this event?
What do you have? Sun?
Yeah, exactly. Don't stare at the sun.
Are you talking about Trump staring at the sun?
No.
Because that was
fantastic. There's been a ridiculous influx of people since the eclipse going to emergency departments and things like that.
Oh, really? Maybe you should have been briefed about the possibility of this.
Well,
so
that's where it gets interesting. They're all going for these eye problems since the eclipse, and there's a ridiculous influx of people. Guess why?
Why?
Because they didn't have the glasses.
Uh-huh.
They heeded the warnings, though, and decided that it must be a good thing to instead, since I don't have the glasses and I want to watch this thing, let's just put sunscreen in my eyes.
No! I don't believe that.
I read this article and I was staring at my screen going, is this fake news? Like, is this like the real fake news that I'm reading right now?
That's the Onion right there.
And it was from, I don't remember what source it was from. It was from some legitimate source. It doesn't mean it's not fake news. I asked somebody about it the next day. I started mentioning this story, and they're like, oh, I was reading articles on all these people going to the emergency room because they all put sunscreen in their eyes thinking that would protect themselves. No. So it's...
No one did this.
I don't... If this is not fake, and if this is a real story and a real problem that's been happening... What the fuck happened to America?
I mean,
the article goes on to talk about all these people are presenting with this, issues that their eyes are burning, and when the doctors are trying to get more to it, it's because like they find out that these people put sunscreen in their eyes, and I don't know if it's burning their eyes, because I don't know if sunscreen will like cause a
it would have to hurt immediately. Like, I mean, you've put on sunscreen before and started sweating and like get that sweat mixture into your eye, and it's like painful as hell.
Absolutely, and that's why I can't believe it. Just like you, I have the same reaction that you have. Is, can this be real? And I still don't know the answer, and I don't want to spread it out there as if I'm saying that this is truth. I've verified it. I have not at all.
Have
verified.
You guys had any?
No, but I mean, we also weren't. I guess I don't know if it'd be worse for us. We weren't in the path of totality, and even though we were 80%, the sun itself, if you didn't have glasses on, because just like you took the glasses off and you saw the sun and it hurt for a second when you took them off. So yeah, I glanced at the sun a handful of times, like not staring at the sun.
Right, you couldn't tell that there was an eclipse happening.
Oh no, you couldn't tell at all, except for it got a little like hazy, like not hazy, but like you could tell there was something different with the lighting. But that was it. Didn't look at the sun and go, whoa, something's happening. Like you had no idea that something's happening, even in 80%. So I don't know, maybe it was more prominent in areas that you couldn't see, so people were staring to see if they could see anything. Maybe it was more prominent because people were just staring when it came to the totality time and were watching it like just before and just after, and that's what they were worried about. I don't know. But I really want to know if anybody actually thought it was an okay idea to put sunscreen in your eye.
No one is that dumb. I don't believe even if they were that dumb, I don't believe they could have completed the task. I think like a little bit of sunscreen in your eyes, and you're going to be like, oh, this is a bad idea. This hurts like hell.
And why would you be presenting multiple days after the fact as well?
Right.
That's another thing that was making me kind of go, well, that's the only other logical explanation I have for that is maybe it does cause a burn. Maybe it was a slow burn, like a physical. I don't mean the burning sensation. I mean physically it burned their like corneas or something like that. I don't know.
Like a chemical burn?
Yeah, that happens a lot with things that people put on their skin, in their eyes. I actually had an acne medication when I was in high school. I was getting ready to go to prom, and I was a kid going through after puberty, but I still had this pimple breakout through high school. I worked in fast food. I worked at McDonald's for 40 hours a week as well, and I was constantly covered in grease, so I had a pimple problem. A lot of my friends were on like Accutane. I don't know if you remember that medication. I don't know if they use it anymore or not. It causes big problems. It's an acne medication that a pill, but it can cause severe liver problems. So anybody who was on Accutane had to constantly get like liver enzymes checked because it caused significant issues with people's liver. So I guess it's 1 year in high school, you got to weigh, do you care about your liver or do you care about your looks type of deal. But I never got Accutane, so I would just buy any of the over-the-counter like acne products. And like that Proactive, everybody always sees commercials for.
Yeah.
I used that for multiple years. It actually worked relatively well. But before prom, when I was broken out and I didn't have any of the Proactive stuff, I bought some kit from like, one of the stores, like a Meijer or a Walmart or something like that around here. I don't remember which one it was. And it was like this 3-layered kit that you have to put on one thing, and the next day you use the other one, the next day you use the other one. It was this 3-chemical combination or something. And I guess my skin was too sensitive for that stuff, and it physically burned my skin to where it just, I put it on, because you have to put it on and like leave it on for like an hour, and then you rinse it off. And I put it on for like the hour I was supposed to, and I rinsed it off, and my skin, it was just like beet red. And
was
over
it like
the
that
next
at prom too?
Yes. Well, it was
God.
it was actually worse because it wasn't just beet red at prom. The skin was all dry and flaky and dying, so it was this redness followed by like if you touched my face, it was just dead skin that like fell off as if I was an old man's feet or something like that. Oh God, it was. Yeah, that was so. How fucked up is this? That was my junior prom, as I dealt with that, and then my senior prom, I was on crutches.
Jesus.
For my senior prom. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, wow. I guess I went to 2 proms my senior year. So one of them I was on crutches for, one of them I wasn't.
I didn't even go to my proms. Okay. I'd skipped them. I don't know what I did. I think I worked.
I mean, sometimes that might have been better. I was also that bad. God, this is a terrible story. My... I don't even know how to say this. My best friend in high school, he was dating this chick. We both worked together at McDonald's, and this new girl started working there, and she was this like young, attractive girl that was new into town, and she had just moved, into town to finish her senior year because she had lived with like her mom, and her parents had split up, and they were, she had to move out of her mom's house for whatever reason, so she came to live with her dad, who was in our town. She got a job at the McDonald's, and her and I hit it off quite well, but I was one of those shy types, and he was more of the proactive type, like, oh, I just met you, even though, you already hit it off. Well, I'm going to ask you out right now type of deal, because guys in high school, we didn't care. It was whoever got to her first, right. Type of deal. Whoever asked the question first. And so she, went on a date with him, and then they started dating. And it was like, oh, that's sad because we really had hit it off. And I thought there was something there. And really crazy story. Like, this is how high school shit works. My other friends that were actually, they had a baby in high school, or just after high school. It was their senior year, and I was a junior at the time. Oh, no, I was a senior. They had just graduated high school the year before. And they all worked at McDonald's together, too. But they had a trailer that they bought with the baby.
This sounds like a fantastic... This is the worst story.
Oh, it's the worst in so many ways. But they invited me over to this a house party of theirs. A house party, like, we hung out all the time. They invited me over, so they were going to have a couple people over on, like, a Friday night. Like, hey, Jeff, come spend the night. We're going to get some drinks and... buy some beers and all this stuff. And I was like, sweet, on the way. And I went over there, and I walked in the door, and she was there as well. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is my buddy's, like, girlfriend, And I was like, oh, so who else is coming? And they were like, no, just us. And I was like, okay, this is a little weird. And my buddy pulls me off to the side a little bit later, and he's like, she has been telling me at work that she doesn't really want to, she doesn't want to be with your friend. Like, I'm trying not to say his name, but nobody fucking knows this guy, so who cares? His name's Paul. She's like, we've been talking at work, and she doesn't want to be with Paul because she's actually really interested in you, and she just kind of feels trapped. After prom? This is before prom.
Okay.
And like, because she just feels trapped because she's new. He asked her out, they went out, and now it like morphed into a relationship that it was not like a, hey, will you go out with me and be my girlfriend type of deal. They were just have been going on dates at this point now, and he was like solidified that she's my girlfriend type of deal, and she was like, I'm really not into this. But I guess she told them that she was more interested in me, so they scheduled this whole thing because they didn't think that she was a good match with him. They wanted her to be with me as well. They scheduled this whole thing so that we could get together, and he made it very clear, and made it very clear to me as well that she knew this, which she did. Like, she was knowing that I was coming over because they would rather us get together instead type of deal. So long story short, things work out the way that they want it to. I tell my buddy about, like, what happened. He's okay with it.
Wow.
It turns out later he basically expressed how very not okay with it was, because we didn't like, she is the person I lost my virginity to, but it was actually like later, so it's not like I slept with her or anything like that. We just really hit it off. We talked. She explained to me that she didn't want to be with him, she'd rather be with me instead type of deal. So I talked to him about it, and he was okay with it, and she talked to him about it as well, and he acted like it was all okay. But it was weird because it was this senior prom. You had to register your dates so that if they didn't go to your school, they had to know the names of your dates so they were allowed into the prom. So the librarian is the person who apparently registers these dates. So we went to the library together, me and my buddy, and he was like, look, I need to change the name of my date for prom, because then he had another person that he was going with. And they're like, okay, what's the name of your new date? And he tells them, and they write it down in a little thing, and then they're like, and you? And I was like, yeah, I need to register a date for prom. And they're like, what's her name? And I was like, just the one you just erased from his name, just add her down to mine. And they just stopped and looked at me like, what? And he was like, yeah, it's okay, just write it down. And yeah, that was I was kind of that asshole. I stole my best friend's girlfriend, and
Well,
And,
you know, it sounds like that's what she wanted, really. So.
oh, it's definitely what she wanted, and they weren't. You know, when I say the girlfriend, that's where the confusion comes. They had gone on a couple dates. He thought that they like made it so that they were like together. She was his girlfriend, and you know, in high school, that's a big deal. It's different than, you know, the real people in real life who are quote unquote together. You know, in his mind, they were together in school sense, and she was kind of just like, I didn't really sign up for this type of deal, you know, type of thing. But yeah, I've been that guy. I've definitely been that guy, and I feel bad about that for sure, but not at the same time.
Well, it's not like it worked out. You lost your virginity to her.
That's true. That's true. We dated for a while.
Was it on
by a while? It was like 9 months or something like that. I went off to college. Like it was the end of senior year. Then I went to college, and we ended up splitting up sometime during my freshman term, which is very, very, very typical of any high school relationship. Of course, when I went to college, I was all sad and didn't want to be there. I wanted to be back at home with her. And I actually, amazingly, ended up coming back home after my first semester. I went to a different college that was closer to home. She was initially part of the reason I had started looking, but she was not the reason I ended up changing and coming back home. I did not have a good time at my first semester of college in general, and it wasn't the right place for me. And then I found the right place for me. That was good. But yeah, that's me, the stand-up. The stand-up guy you all know and love, the firefighter nurse, you know, out for the community. I
think everyone's heard enough commentary from you to know that
that's
capable
true.
of stealing the women.
They should know better by now. Bad people can do good things too. You've never been that guy.
I haven't. I don't.
Never that you want to admit.
Well, I don't think I've ever been that guy. There was this when I worked at Shoney's. There was this. She was a lesbian, actually, come to find out, but I didn't know that at the time. She started working there. She was older, and me and my friend Mad Cow, we both worked at Shoney's together, and so we both had a thing for her. And
who got there first?
I guess he did, honestly. Like I thought I had got there first. It seemed like me and her had more of a thing going on. I think I had a girlfriend at the time, though, so I really shouldn't have been. I think I did. So it really shouldn't have been a thing, anyways. But then it became like this weird thing. Like she had a kid too. I forgot. I just remember that as I'm saying these, like talking about her. Her name was Wendy, actually.
Which was a whole different ball game when you were younger.
Right.
And
yeah.
You know, it's because now I think about it, if I were single right now, finding a girl without a kid would be very difficult for me anywhere in my age frame.
Right.
But back then, it's a whole different thought process.
But like, yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Like he ended up staying with her at some point. Like she moved in. I can't remember all the details, but he like basically became like the baby daddy at some point. Like he quit his job at Shoney's, and like him and I had like a big falling out over her, and like we didn't talk for a long time. And like it was just like they lived in like a trailer park together. It was like this sad thing, and like but. He told me about it years later, and like they never actually did anything together because she was a lesbian. And like her girlfriend lived there too.
How'd you guys have this big falling out about it?
But that was the thing too. He never told me she was a lesbian. I never got far enough to find out. But I guess he found out the hard way, and because he like moved, like basically he was like taking care of her and her girlfriend. And she still worked at Shoney's, like, and I kept working there. Like he'd actually got fired. It was over something stupid. Like he like called in sick, and the boss just fucking fired him. Like he'd never had like called in sick before or anything. He was like just made an example of him, and yeah. But so she was still working there, and I'd see her all the time, and like he'd come and pick her up, and like we all kind of laughed at him too because it was just like this weird thing. I feel really bad, honestly. I was basically not a very good friend to him during this whole time period.
I feel that in the food service industry, that's a very typical story that you just told. I don't know why. It just seems to be like this random relationship happens, whether it's a good relationship or bad relationship. One person gets fired, but they still continue to come pick them up at the, you know, the restaurant all the time, and everybody laughs. And even though they were all good friends at one point in the past, like, it's just typical. Oh my god, that's why I love the movie Waiting so much.
I still haven't watched that. I need to.
God, you need to watch it. And it was funny because one of the sayings in that movie is a similar saying to what I used to say, not because long before the movie ever came out, but because it's the exact truth. And something happens to one of the guys while they're at work that day, and his buddy goes up and says something like, "So, what about blah 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 situation? What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "How do you know about that?" And he's like, "People with the day off know about that already." You know, it's just. I used to always joke that you could whisper something to the ketchup packets in the back, and everybody with the day off already knows what you said.
Yeah, yeah. It is so true and so weird.
Yeah, it's just everybody talks, and that was before. That was in a time before text messaging was. Like, for one, before it existed for a long time, but before it was
I had
even...
a pager back then.
Yeah. You couldn't just like text it to people and be like, "Hey, this is what happened." Like, people were somehow physically talking to each other in a 3-minute span. Everybody knew everything.
What was weird is one of the fry cooks, like fryer cook guys, like, so they have a seafood buffet on the weekend, or did. I don't even know if Shoney's is still in business. Most of them I think are closed now. And I don't know how their buffet works or anything now, but anyway, they had a seafood buffet on the weekends, and so like as the bar guy, I would have to go and tell the fryer people whenever we needed any fried food, and he hated me for it. Like, it's not my fucking fault the fucking the shrimps all ate up, but I had to go order the shit from him, and so every time I do it, he'd get really mad at me, and at one point he threatened to like beat me up. He like came running out of the kitchen and was like all in my face and shit. Like, it was crazy. But I was friends with his daughter at school and had no idea. Had known her for a long time, had no idea this was her dad. And then she got a job there, and it was so fucking awkward because this man hated me because I ordered the fried food. And, yeah.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're a waiter and you're dealing with the cooks in the back, they act like they're doing you a favor when you ask for something from them.
I guess I'll cook your food.
Yeah, I got like ranch dressing? Fine, let me see what I can do for you. See if I can pull any of that out here for you. I didn't fucking ask for it.
Yeah, right. I'm not eating this shit.
Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you? It always drove me insane. They act like any requests. I thought it was nice at the one restaurant, because I only worked at like not a lot of fast food, but I worked at McDonald's and I worked at Starbucks, but I worked at one restaurant as a waiter and a cook, and I was the first person it was a new restaurant, and I was the first person there that got to get trained on both the cook and as a waiter. I don't know why they like to keep front of house and back of house so separated, so I was the first person they were experimenting with allowing to do that, because I was actually successful as a cook and had people skills as well, which is really sometimes difficult in the food service industry to find when you're, depending on your hiring pool. Because you run into those waiters and waitresses, fantastic, and then you're like, some days you're like, how do these people like manage? Like, it's one of those. So if I would start getting that attitude, I would just walk back there, grab any of the shit that I needed, walk away, and I was kind of allowed to do that because I was also back of house staff. But everybody didn't have that same luxury and would get in a lot of trouble. But it was the guy, and when I say get in a lot of trouble, it was they'd get in trouble from the managers for being in back of house where they weren't supposed to be. But then when they would explain the situation, if they could get like some people to back up that that's what was happening, then back of house people would get yelled at for not. Yeah, it's just the fact that you think you're doing any of your coworkers a favor in like the fast food or food service industry when they ask for basic shit for the customers.
I mean, I'll admit, eventually I started getting petty, and it was the best run seafood bar in town because nothing went unfilled. I was like ordering it like in anticipation of it being out by the time it got cooked and shit. Like, it got to the point after he was an asshole that I was definitely making him work harder than need be.
Double-edged sword, or double-edged sword. I mean, double positive aspect. I don't know why can't I think of that. Double win, I guess, is the seafood bar is stocked and you get to make that guy work.
Right.
So one of my commenters actually did write back in relation to our discussion on Golden Corral and said, at least where he's at, Golden Corral servers are only paid as servers in his state.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're only paid $2 and something an hour. And from the comment, it sounds like he used to be one because he said it was the toughest experience he's ever dealt with when he worked there.
Well,
because...
you know, someone commented on mine and brought up the fact that the company is required to make sure that they get paid minimum wage, and so staff is required to report their tips, and the way that this has worked with my mom was a waitress for most of her life, and I've known
your credit card tips always get added, but your ones don't.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I know how the
and
system
you'll
works.
calculate it so that you hit just at exactly minimum wage if you do go over. And if you go under, the way that they fix that and make sure you get minimum wage, at least at every restaurant I've ever worked at, is you get put back in training mode and you get paid minimum wage while you're in training mode, and you don't get any of your tips. They go to whoever is now your trainee.
Well, I guess the way it legally has to work, from what I remember from being there, and I don't know if it's changed, but it was, yeah, if your calculated tips didn't add you up to at least minimum wage, the company was required to, I don't think it was to pay you minimum wage, it was to supplement you up to minimum wage.
Yeah, like the way they did it at the two restaurants I've ever worked at was, oh, you're not making minimum wage? Okay, well, now we're required to pay you minimum wage. What we're going to do is we're going to put you in a training mode again, and because if you're not making at least minimum wage from tips, you must suck as a waiter. So now you're a trainee again, and you're not getting any tips, but you're getting minimum wage.
Yeah. But that actually kind of would work out okay for some people, because that's why, you know, they like the people who pay cash or leave cash tips, because, you know, everybody says the thing, you know, oh, I like it when they get cash tips because I don't have to claim them. Well, no, that's not true. You do have to claim them. You just, nobody knows that they really exist. Right. So you get away with not claiming them.
It's probably a lot harder these days because everyone tips on their card, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. Most we're a credit card run society. That's why I get mad when I see it's kind of sad that the credit card companies have such a big reign on everything with the ability to charge the card processing fees, because everybody uses credit cards now for everything. And I've noticed most places went away. A lot of places used to have that whole $10 minimum for credit card type of deal because it was the only way to make it worth it to, you know, pay for the credit card transaction. Most places have pretty much gone away from that, and I think out of necessity that people don't carry cash nearly as much anymore.
Right.
But it really does kind of, it annoys me that if you're really the small mom and pop shop and everybody's paying a credit card and you're now required to give the credit card processing company money, like, I think that's kind of a shitty system for anybody except the credit card holder or credit card company.
It is. It really is. Yeah. There's a lot of places around here that are still like mom and pop shops, like you're talking, that are still cash only.
Really?
Yeah. There's an ice cream place that that comes to mind, and like a Dairy Queen type place that was called Dairy Free.
Dairy King.
It's some off-brand, but yeah,
the Tasty Freeze.
That actually might be what it's called.
I think the Tasty Freeze is like an old school.
It's been there.
What's that song that talks about outside the Tasty Freeze? God.
It's been there since like my grandma was a kid, so it's been there forever.
Yeah, it might be the Tasty Freeze.
I think it is Tasty Freeze. Now that you said that.
What is that song that talks about being outside the Tasty Freeze? I can only remember that line and not like anything that went that line or anything that has to do with like how the tune goes. Just outside the Tasty Freeze. I remember that.
I don't know. I do not know anything about the Tasty Freeze.
Yeah, I definitely miss my job as a waiter, though I don't think I'd ever want to see. Granted, it'd be nice to be out in DC because everything costs so much more, so you're getting like probably shit tons of shit tons of money, but
well, you would
I don't think I could,
though, right?
I don't think I could deal with it. I enjoy the food service industry. That's the thing. If I ever like won the lotto, I would probably still work part-time just as like fun aspects to do, and I would work at like, you know, things that I liked to do.
Right.
Working in food industry, I enjoyed doing that. I had a lot of fun just bullshitting with random people. It was a big networking opportunity. I met so many people through working at McDonald's and restaurants and things like that, just because you start seeing some of the same people all the time, you start bullshitting with them, they get to know you. You realize that they all of a sudden have like, you know, they run a company that does something that you enjoy, or they know something about like a sports team you follow, just some connection with people that you network about.
Right. Part of me really wants to turn my office into a restaurant, but I'll probably never actually do it. It's perfect. It's in the perfect spot for it, though. Be like a little country diner type thing.
I mean, and then you could turn like you could probably turn it into a good bed and breakfast.
Well, the house next door could be a bed and breakfast, the porterhouse.
Oh, yeah.
But no, like the office is just like a big open brick building because it used to be a gas station, and there's a back area that was a kitchen whenever it was a daycare. So it's got everything it needs, and it's also got 4 bathrooms because when it was a daycare, that was a requirement.
There was a requirement to specifically have 4 bathrooms,
It's,
or was there a
yeah, there
requirement
had to
for
be a
amount of
certain number
children
of
you had?
toilets for the number of occupants they had, or something like that. And so, based on the number of kids they were watching, they had to have that many toilets.
It would just be interesting if they were like, all daycares must have 4 bathrooms.
Right.
That was the law. It had nothing to do. You have 100 kids, you can have 3 kids. 4 bathrooms. That is what we require. It's just what it is. Listen to it. It's the rules. I forgot to be proactive and start getting these other fields going.
We're gonna have $1 million, I think.
After, well, we'll probably end up being at like 750,000 after the bales.
Yeah.
We could probably sell everything that we have.
Everything, all the tractors and everything.
No. I mean all the stuff in the silos.
Oh yeah.
Because we have a decent amount of like sunflower, which usually sells for a decent price.
Is there anything selling high right now?
We might be able to sell some of those sheep. Do we have over 100? Oh god, we got shit tons of wool to sell actually.
Oh yeah, I forgot about all the wool. Oh, we had 99 sheep.
99 sheep, about to hit the big hundo.
What is wool selling for right now?
Hundo hype.
Hundo hype. Oh, wool's way down. We do not want to sell our wool right now.
Okay,
I wonder if it's because we have so much. It's like, no, we're not gonna let you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the lowest I've ever seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
The lowest ever?
Mm-hmm. I've never seen it under 6,000 before.
Shit,
It's at 4,000 right now.
You gotta plow this field first, huh? And I stole that tractor. Where did I take that tractor to for the plow? I did steal that tractor, right?
I might have the plowing tractor, actually.
Because I don't think the little guy can handle it, right?
I'll, here, I'll let go of this tractor. I'm out of it. You can grab it.
There you go.
The blue one to these bells in.
Yeah, I can't imagine though working at like a Golden Corral and making do something an hour. Because I can't imagine that those servers making minimum wage with their tips on that regular, frequent of a basis. How? Because I really don't think people at those type of establishments are tipping that much.
I always tip them this. I don't tip them. I guess I probably don't tip them 20% like I would at a normal place because I don't really keep track of it. But I always leave a 5 when I go to a buffet.
I wish I understood. I almost think it should be a requirement to, for one, to say when it is a tip-based job, so that customers know. But at the same time, there should be requirements to make it. Like, am I allowed to make anything classify you as a server, and just in hopes that you get tips and I don't have to pay you as much money?
I don't think so.
Like,
it is a weird
is
thing. Like, I mean, like, let's say you worked at like Home Depot or whatever. Like, technically, you can get a tip there. You're probably not going to, but
well, Uber started letting you tip on your phone now for most people. Did they do that for the aspect that they can track the tips and they can pay you less per the ride as long as they're giving you like this minimum number of dollars?
Think so. I
don't think so either, but doesn't it get you into some weird territory on, okay, if you're allowed to tip a taxi cab driver, do the taxi cab companies legally let to give them $2.33 an hour or whatever the hell, you know,
Right.
quote unquote server pay is now? Is it called server pay, or is that just what everybody calls it? Is it like tip-based industry pay?
Yeah, I don't actually know. So do you tip your Uber driver?
Yeah, I will if they were a good one.
What do they have to do to be good?
I mean, they have to get me there, not drive crazy, erratically, not make me feel unsafe, and I mean, if I want to have a conversation, they can want to have or if I'm obviously not in the mood for a conversation, quit talking to me.
Yeah.
Or if we are having good banter back and forth, and you know we're having jokes and having a good time, then sure. If I enjoyed the ride from you, I will tip you. I will not tip you in cash. And I used to have the Uber because Uber didn't used to be able to.
Yeah, they would tell you, "Hey, I can take tips." I was like,
yeah, then they would tell you,
buddy.
Well, yeah, well, I wish they'd let you do it on the app because I don't have any cash on me. It was funny. The last ride I took, I was going to tip the driver because actually, really, he was a really good guy. Got me there really fast, and not unsafely either. And I was really happy. And I went to tip him, and it literally said like, "Blah blah blah, driver does not have tipping enabled." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Huh.
So I can't tip him because he didn't enable to be able to take tips.
He doesn't want your fucking petty
Yeah,
cash.
who doesn't want to take tips? I mean, do you tip your Uber driver?
I haven't had an Uber. I haven't taken an Uber in a year. I bet I don't have any free ones anymore, but they've all expired. But yeah, the last time I took an Uber, I mean, I haven't gone anywhere, you know, and there's no Uber
let them
here.
all expire?
Probably.
That's a shame.
I think they only last 6 months or something like that.
Oh, didn't you have like $24,000 worth or something ridiculous?
Oh no. Jesus Christ, that'd be a lot. No, I did have like a $500 credit they had given me too. I probably still have that. That doesn't expire. No, at one point I had like 100 free rides or something that ridiculous, and I think most of those have expired. I did not. I don't remember the last time I paid for an Uber.
Yeah, I pay for them all the time.
I mean, every time I'd go to a convention, I would just tweet out, "Hey, if you need a ride, use this code." And a lot of people.
It's really funny. There's certain areas that Uber's still not super popular in. Like Julia's parents come to DC a lot, and her mom, even we set her up with an Uber account so she could take an Uber. And Julia used to like request an Uber for her from her phone when she was going like back to the airport and stuff, because she didn't have the Uber app. So we finally set her up with one, and I was like, oh, if you're going to get set up with one here, put in my like little code or whatever so that I can get a free ride when you use your ride. She decided in the morning, instead of using the Uber, that she would just go call the taxi company to come for a pickup because she just didn't understand, even though she'd ridden in it multiple times. Right. The fact that she had never used it on her phone, she didn't feel comfortable requesting an Uber.
I saw like a comic or something like this where it was like 1990, don't talk to people on the internet, don't get in strangers' cars. 2017, use the internet to find a stranger's car you can get into.
That is true. That is the way it is. My, how life has changed. Hopefully it's for the better. I have no idea.
I'd just be happy whenever all the cars are driving themselves.
Well, you see, the Ford is going to team up with Domino's in Detroit area, I think it is, somewhere in Michigan, to test automated cars for pizza delivery.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great, but are they ready for that?
I mean, all the testing, there's been billions of miles driven, and there's been no wrecks.
I thought, because in Pittsburgh, wasn't Uber teaming up to do that with one of the car companies? But they had the person still in the vehicle at all times to make sure like nothing went wrong. And I thought one of those had gotten in a wreck.
As far as I know, there's been no wrecks. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, there's been 0 wrecks that were at the fault of the computer.
Yeah, I'm all about it too. I just, man, there's so much involved with a computer guessing, like that human intuition piece of driving. I'm not one to say that I want to eliminate computers from most things. I think there's way too much manual shit that's done that should be done by computers, especially in the healthcare industry. It drives me insane. The fire department as well. God, it's terrible for people who want to use the paper map book because they don't trust the computer to tell them how to get there the right way. Type of deal. God, maybe we'll have to get into this in the next video or something. I don't know. It's but when it comes to human intuition on reacting to other people on the road, that I'm a little scared of how if they can actually do that properly. And the main reason is because human intuition is completely different from person to person.
Yeah, but computers are able to make split-second decisions that humans can never compete with. So there's nothing that a computer can't do better in terms of those type of reactions, I feel.
And I get that point as well. And say for...
And to me, the biggest
regard.
thing is, once all of the cars are self-driving cars, then there will be no more accidents.
Yeah, well, especially if they just make... I mean, you wouldn't need much to worry about. It's not even all the cars being self-driving cars. It's all the cars being interconnected.
Right.
They would technically don't even have to be self-driving cars. If all cars were interconnected through some type of, network system, they could easily know exactly where other cars are at and where they're
right. I mean, that shouldn't be relied on though. It should be both, because if there's like a network failure,
right,
the car should be able to drive itself. But also imagine once that's the case, like speed limits are trivial then. Like everyone can go 300 fucking miles an hour. That's how fast the car can go.
That'll probably never fly though.
Well, you could fly at that speed.
That's true. That's true. I just don't think that people would. For one, you could never get rid of that stuff because, I wonder if the police are going to have a big problem with that, because tickets pay for tax dollars.
Well, I mean, logistics is the biggest industry in North America. So in the next 100 years, truck drivers and things like that are going to go away. And so, like, logistics is like the parking tickets and traffic tickets are nothing compared to some of the other jobs that we're going to lose because of self-driving things. Truck drivers are fucked. That's a dying industry. Taxi drivers, like anyone that drives a thing for a living, that's a limited job.
Uber.
Well, yeah, I mean, the CEOs and heads of Uber have said that the quicker they can get rid of their drivers, the better.
The less people to pay,
yep,
the better.
Well, we're at time, though. So, with that, enjoy your job, drivers.
All right. Enjoy your driving job. You'll see you guys years to come doing that thing. Retiring from the driving industry, I'm sure, like when you're old and gray.
Bye.
See ya.